All right, so pronunciation. I know a lot of you listening are hoping to really boost your English speaking skills with this deep dive, maybe for a big presentation or something.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole bunch of expert advice here
Yeah.
to help you sound clearer, more confident without stressing about every little sound and syllable.
Exactly. And without,
Right.
turning into some kind of perfect robot voice.
Yeah.
We want you to find your voice.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool about all the advice we've got is that a lot of it is about making practice enjoyable.
Oh, definitely.
It's like a workout for your vocal cords,
Yeah.
but fun.
Like vocal yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the first thing people should focus on if they want to improve their pronunciation?
Well, all of the sources that we look at agree that you shouldn't try and fix everything at once.
Right.
That's just going to lead to information overload.
Yeah.
So instead what we're going to do is we're going to target specific sounds that tend to be tricky.
Okay, so like the th sound, I know that one can
Yeah.
be really hard for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's because it involves placing your tongue in a way that's totally different to pretty much every other sound.
Right.
And even tiny little adjustments to how you shape your mouth can make a huge difference in how you sound.
So instead of like a complete pronunciation makeover, we're strategically picking our battles.
Exactly. And speaking of strategy, here's something that might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first.
Okay.
You need to slow down.
Really?
Okay.
I always thought the goal was to like speed up and sound more fluent, not
No.
to slow down.
I know it sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
um, think of it like this when you learn a new dance move.
Right.
You don't just start at full speed, do you?
No.
You've got to break it down and practice slowly.
Yeah.
Get that muscle memory and pronunciation is basically the same.
Oh, okay.
If you rush,
Yeah.
you just trip over sounds.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
And it's just going to lead to frustration.
Yeah.
So
So how slow are we talking here?
the source material actually gives a great example using the word comfortable.
Yeah.
And it says we should break it down syllable by syllable. Comfortable.
Comfortable. I like that.
It's almost like a little vocal warm-up.
Yeah, you can really feel each sound like that.
Exactly. And the more you do that, the more those sounds are going to become ingrained in your memory. It's like training your tongue to move in a new way.
Like tongue push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually those sounds are just going to flow naturally.
Cool.
And I know you're a podcast fan, so I think you're going to love this next tip.
Yeah.
It's all about listening like a spy.
Ooh, intrigue. Tell me more.
Okay, so the shadowing technique is basically about becoming a pronunciation detective.
Uh-huh.
You pick a native speaker that you enjoy listening to. Could be a podcast, a TV show, a YouTuber.
Right.
And you basically try to copy their pronunciation, their rhythm, how they emphasize certain words.
So you're like absorbing their pronunciation through osmosis.
Yeah. In a way, you're not trying to become a perfect copy,
Right.
but you're picking up on the nuances, the music of how they speak. It's like learning the secret code
The secret code.
Yeah.
I like that.
of natural sounding English.
Okay, so do you have any suggestions for material that people could use for shadowing?
Well, I'm sure you've got your favorite podcasts.
I do.
Think about the podcast where the host's voice just draws you in.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about their delivery that you find so engaging? Maybe try shadowing a short segment and see what you notice.
That's a good idea. And I have to admit, the next tip is one that I always used to dread recording myself.
Yeah.
It just felt so awkward to listen to my own voice.
I totally get that it can be a little bit cringy, but here's the thing. Recording yourself is actually like a superpower.
Okay.
It lets you step outside yourself and listen to your pronunciation objectively, like you're a listener.
So it's not about being like super self-critical.
It's
It's about gaining that objective ear.
Exactly. And one of the sources points out that awareness is the foundation of any skill you want to learn.
That makes sense.
You can't fix what you don't realize you're doing.
Right.
So,
Okay, so do you have any advice for making this whole recording thing less intimidating?
yeah, for sure, start small. So don't try and record like a TED Talk right away.
Okay.
Maybe just record yourself saying a short phrase or even a single word, and don't try and analyze everything at once.
Right.
So maybe just focus on one particular sound that you're working on.
Okay, break it down. Make it manageable.
Exactly.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Absolutely. And are you ready to add some flavor to your speech?
Ooh, yes. Always up for some extra spice. What are we talking about?
Stress and intonation.
Okay.
These are the elements that make English sound dynamic and interesting and engaging. Think of them like the spices in a dish.
Mhm.
They can take something bland and make it delicious.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Break this down for me.
Okay, so stress is basically about which syllable you emphasize in a word.
Okay.
So the source uses the word banana as an example.
Okay.
So just say out loud, Banana.
Banana.
Right, you see how that emphasis on the second syllable just makes it sound natural?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it before.
But if you shift the stress to the first syllable, banana,
B-A-na-na. It sounds so
it
weird.
sounds completely different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And actually, the meaning can change depending on where you put the stress.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how mastering this could really,
Yeah,
like, take my pronunciation up a notch.
absolutely. And then there's intonation, which is the way that your voice rises and falls as you speak.
Okay.
So it's like the melody of your speech. Think about if you were saying, it's raining, and you were really excited,
Right.
versus if you were disappointed.
Oh, yeah, your voice would sound totally different.
Your voice would have a different tune depending on your mood.
That's a really good example.
So folks.
So it's not just the words themselves, it's how we say them. It's like adding punctuation to your speech.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stress and intonation, they add those commas and question marks and exclamation points that make your English come to life.
I love that. So they let you emphasize certain words.
Yes.
You can express emotions and even like add a little humor.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have any tips for mastering stress and intonation?
We'll dive into some specific techniques in the next part, but for now, just try and pay attention to how native speakers use them.
Okay.
You know, it's all around you in podcasts and movies and conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen for those subtle shifts in emphasis and pitch and see if you can imitate them.
Yeah, I've definitely had times where I've had trouble understanding someone
Yeah.
because their intonation was off. It's like I was missing half the message.
Yeah. And it works the other way around as well. If you can master stress and intonation, you'll be able to communicate more effectively
Totally.
and make sure that people really understand what you mean.
Awesome. All right. So are there any apps or tools out there that can help with pronunciation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of pronunciation resources at your fingertips, and we're going to explore some of those in more detail later on.
Cool.
But for now, just know that you don't have to do this alone.
Awesome. So we've talked about a lot already. We've covered targeting specific sounds. We've talked about the power of slowing down, breaking words down, listening like a spy, recording ourselves, and even this idea of like adding flavor with stress and intonation.
It's all about adding those spices.
Exactly. And we're just getting started in the next part. We're going to delve into some fun and practical ways to actually put all this into practice.
Yeah, we're going to take all this theory and give you some concrete actions.
Exactly. Looking forward to it. Welcome back, pronunciation adventurers.
Yeah?
Ready for part 2.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we talked a lot about like targeting specific sounds in the last part. So in this part,
Yeah.
I'd love to go a little deeper into that.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at one that tends to trip a lot of people up.
Okay.
The thick.
Ah, the dreaded death.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And actually, to make it even trickier, there are 2 fifth.
Wait, 2?
I thought there was just 1.
I know it's sneaky like that, but there's a voice and an unvoiced fifth.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so the voiced fifth, like in the word this.
That involves vibrating your vocal cords. You can actually feel it if you put your hand on your throat as you make the sound.
Oh, yeah, I can feel it.
Right, whereas the unvoiced, like in the word think, your vocal cords stay silent.
Interesting. So it's almost like 2 totally different sounds.
They are 2 totally different sounds.
But they're written the same.
Masquerading as one.
No wonder. So difficult.
And the placement of your tongue is really important for both of these sounds. You're sticking your tongue out between your teeth.
Right.
Making a sound. It's not a movement we usually do in most languages.
Yeah, it feels so weird.
It's very unnatural.
Do you have any tips for mastering those sounds?
Well, I mean, practice.
Of course.
But try and make it fun.
Okay.
So, maybe try exaggerating the sound at first, almost like you're making a silly face.
Okay.
And really pay attention to what your tongue is doing. Is it gently touching your teeth? Is the airflow consistent?
So it's like a little workout for your tongue.
Yeah, exactly. A tongue workout.
I like that.
And then the more you do that, the more natural it'll feel.
Okay.
And speaking of practice, remember that tip about slowing down?
Yes, I'm ready to embrace my inner snail.
Good.
I'm still a little bit unclear on how to actually like practice slowing down.
Yeah, I get that, it's one thing to know you should slow down,
Right.
but it's another thing to actually do it. So here's a technique that I find really useful. It's called the 3-2-1 method.
Ooh, I love a good numbered system. Tell me more.
Okay, so basically you choose a phrase or a sentence that you want to practice.
Okay.
You say it 3 times, slowly focusing on each individual sound. Then you say it twice at a slightly faster pace.
Okay.
And then finally you say it once at a normal conversational speed.
So you're gradually like building up speed
Exactly.
while still being clear.
Exactly. It's like warming up your vocal cords in your brain for clear, confident speech.
I love that analogy.
So,
I'm feeling much more motivated to slow down now
good.
and really savor the sounds.
And remember, it's not just about speaking slowly. It's about breaking those words down into syllables, almost like dissecting them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that would help.
So how are you getting on with the shadowing technique?
I've been trying it out.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, it's really helping me to like internalize all those little nuances.
Yeah, it's a really powerful technique, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's great is you could do it literally anywhere. You just pop in your earbuds
Right.
and become a pronunciation detective.
I like that. But I have a confession. When I first heard about this, I thought it was about sounding exactly like the person,
Yeah.
which was a little intimidating.
I totally get that.
But now I see it's more about like capturing the essence of their delivery.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's not about becoming a clone.
Right.
It's about understanding the why behind their pronunciation choices.
The why.
So why do they emphasize certain words? Why do they pause at certain moments?
Okay.
And once you start seeing those patterns,
Right.
you can start incorporating them into your own speak.
So you're like learning the unspoken rules of like natural sounding English?
Yes. And the best part is you can pick and choose the elements you want to adopt, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you love the way that one particular podcaster creates this really intimate feeling with their voice.
Right.
Or maybe you really like how a certain public speaker uses pauses for dramatic effect.
It's like you're making your own pronunciation recipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking bits and pieces from different sources.
And you're creating this unique flavor.
I love that. And the more you do this, the more you'll just become attuned to those little nuances.
Yeah, it's like anything, the more you practice,
Totally.
the better you get at it.
Okay, so time to face the music, literally.
Okay.
Let's talk about recording yourself.
Yes,
Still a little bit daunting for me,
I get it.
but I do see how it could be a game changer.
It is. It's like your secret weapon.
Okay, but any tips for making it less scary?
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, just remember that everybody feels a bit awkward listening to their own voice at first. It's totally normal.
It's true. I hate it.
And secondly, start small. You know, you don't have to record a TED Talk right away.
Okay.
Maybe just start with a simple phrase or a single sentence
Mm-hmm.
and focus on one specific aspect of your pronunciation. Maybe it's the l sound that we were talking about before.
Okay, so again, break it down, make it manageable.
Exactly.
I like it.
And thirdly, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, don't listen with this super critical ear.
Right.
Just try and notice those little improvements.
So it's less about like judgment,
Yeah.
more about observation.
Exactly. You're becoming a scientist
Ooh,
of your own voice. You're studying it.
that's a cool way to think about it.
You're identifying the areas where you can make those fine adjustments.
Yeah, and what's cool is you can really track your progress.
Exactly.
Over time, you can listen back to a recording you made like a month ago
Yeah.
and see how far you've come.
It's really motivating.
Totally. All right, so let's talk about one of my favorite parts of all this.
Okay.
Stress and intonation. We talked about it briefly
Yeah.
in the last part, but I want to learn more about how to like really master these elements.
Yep.
They feel like the secret sauce.
They are. They really are. And they allow you to put so much personality and emotion into your speaking.
Totally. So, okay, so remind me, what's the difference between the two?
Okay, so stress is about emphasizing certain syllables within a word.
Okay.
And intonation is about the overall melody of your speech. So the way your voice rises and falls as you speak.
Okay, so stress is like the individual notes,
Yes,
and intonation is like the whole musical phrase.
exactly. And together, they create this symphony of meaning.
I love that. Okay, so how do we actually use them effectively?
Well, it all starts with awareness.
Yeah.
So start by paying attention to how native speakers use them.
Okay.
Listen to podcasts, watch movies, pay attention to how people talk in everyday conversations, and notice which words they emphasize, how their voices rise and fall.
So we're training our ears
Exactly.
to pick up on those patterns.
Yes, and as you become more aware, you can start to experiment
Okay.
with them in your own speaking.
Cool. Do you have any tips for like actually practicing?
Yeah. One fun thing you can try is take a really simple sentence like, "It's a beautiful day."
Oh, okay.
And just play around with emphasizing different words and changing the intonation.
Okay. It's a beautiful day, or it's a beautiful
Yeah,
day.
you see how just changing the emphasis
Yeah,
completely changes the feeling
solely.
of the sentence.
It's like I'm adding punctuation marks to my voice.
Exactly, and that's the power of these elements.
Mhm.
They let you emphasize words convey emotion, create rhythm and flow.
Okay, I'm getting it now. So mastering these can really take your pronunciation
Yeah.
to a whole new level.
Absolutely, and the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become,
Mm-hmm.
and your speech will just sound more natural and engaging.
That's the goal. All right, so before we wrap up,
Fine.
I want to go back to the tech tools.
Yes.
Can technology actually help us with pronunciation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
technology is an amazing tool for pronunciation practice. We're going to explore some specific apps and websites in the next part.
Cool.
But for now, I just want to say that there's a whole world of resources out there that can give you personalized feedback, interactive exercises, even progress tracking.
That sounds awesome, like having a digital pronunciation coach.
Exactly. And you can find tools that fit your specific needs and learning style.
Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. But even with all the cool new tech out there,
Yeah,
there's something to be said for a good old-fashioned dictionary.
absolutely. I mean, dictionaries are still so useful
Yeah.
for pronunciation. They give you those phonetic transcriptions
Mm-hmm.
that help you to decode all those tricky sounds.
It's true, and a lot of dictionaries even have audio pronunciations now.
Yeah, so you can see how the word should be pronounced,
Right.
but you can also hear it.
So you've got the visual and the audio.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground again in this part.
We have.
We talked about those C sounds.
Yes.
We talked about slowing down, breaking down words.
Mm,
Shadow. Yes.
recording
The
ourselves.
superpower.
Exactly. And this idea of stress and intonation.
Secret sauce.
The secret sauce, we've barely scratched the surface.
We have so much more to discover.
In the next part, we're going to explore some fun ways to make practice a part of your routine.
Yes.
Talk about tech tools and leave you with some inspiring final thoughts.
Yeah, to help you on your pronunciation journey.
Awesome. Can't wait. Welcome back to the final part of our pronunciation deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground so far.
We have, but now I want to talk about how to make this a lasting habit because I think that's something that
Yeah.
a lot of people struggle with.
Absolutely. It's one thing to understand the theory,
Right.
but putting it into practice consistently, that's a whole other challenge.
And all the experts agree that progress isn't always linear.
Right.
You're not going to see results overnight.
Yeah, you'll have good days and bad days.
Exactly.
It's just like any other skill. You didn't learn to ride a bike in one day.
That's so true.
It takes time and effort. Yeah, and it's easy to get discouraged
It is.
when you don't see results immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important to celebrate those little wins, you know?
Yeah, like what?
Did you manage to have a conversation without feeling self-conscious about your accent?
Oh, yeah.
Did somebody compliment you on how clearly you spoke?
Right. Those are big wins.
Those are victories.
We've got to celebrate them.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, but, even when you are motivated, how do you actually make practice a regular part of your life?
Yeah, it's hard to make time for it.
It is, especially when life gets busy.
So do you have any tips for making it more fun?
Remember those tongue twisters we were talking about before?
Yeah.
I mean, those are a great way to just warm up your vocal cords.
I've been practicing Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers in the shower.
See, I told you they were fun.
It's surprisingly addictive.
And it doesn't always have to feel like work. Think about the things you already enjoy doing that involve speaking English.
Like what?
Well, maybe you like singing along to music. Maybe you like watching movies with the subtitles on.
Right.
Even just chatting with friends online.
Yeah, all great ways to practice without it feeling like a chore.
Exactly. And, we talked about technology before.
Yeah, we touched on it.
But I think it's worth going into a bit more detail because there are some amazing apps out there.
Okay, I'm all ears. Any recommendations?
Well, there's one called Elsa Speak,
Okay, I've heard of that one.
and it's great for really targeting specific sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it uses AI to analyze your pronunciation
Wow.
and give you real-time feedback.
That's so cool.
It's super high-tech. And then there's another one called Speak Fluent,
Okay.
and that focuses more on helping you develop a natural rhythm and intonation.
So it's like having a digital pronunciation coach.
Yeah, exactly. And they have all these interactive exercises,
Yeah.
and you can even record yourself and compare your pronunciation to a native speaker.
I love that.
And then there's one that I really like called Youglish.
Youglish. What's that one?
So it's basically a pronunciation search engine. So you type in a word or a phrase,
Okay.
and it'll show you videos of native speakers saying it in different contexts.
That's so cool. I'm going to check that out.
So yeah, there are loads of different apps and websites out there.
Yeah, and most of them offer free trials so you can try them before you commit.
Exactly. You can find the one that really works best for you.
That's a great tip. But, I still think there's a place for the good old-fashioned dictionary.
Oh, absolutely. Dictionaries are still so useful.
Yeah,
They give you those phonetic transcriptions.
the ones that look like hieroglyphics.
Exactly. But once you learn how to read them, they're super helpful.
I actually find it kind of fun to look words up in the dictionary.
Yeah, it's like a treasure hunt.
Uh-huh.
And it's a great way to learn how to read those phonetic symbols, which can be helpful in so many situations.
That's true. You never know when you might need them.
Exactly. So we've talked about targeting specific sounds. We've talked about technology. We've talked about making practice a habit and celebrating those wins.
Yeah, I think our listeners have a lot to work with now.
They do. They have a whole pronunciation toolkit.
And most importantly, I think we've helped people to realize that clear, confident pronunciation is within reach.
Yes. It's about approaching it with a sense of curiosity and playfulness.
Definitely not being afraid to experiment and make mistakes.
Exactly. And believing that you can achieve your goals.
Awesome, well said. So I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Think about your favorite English speaker. It could be an actor, a podcaster, a public figure, anyone whose voice you find engaging and captivating.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, what is it about their pronunciation that I admire?
That's a great question.
Is it their clarity, their rhythm, their ability to convey emotion?
And as you're thinking about that, think about how you can borrow some of those elements and make them your own, because ultimately pronunciation is about finding your own unique voice
Yes, it's about expressing yourself with confidence and clarity.
and letting your personality shine through.
So to all our listeners out there, embrace the journey. Enjoy the process. And remember, every step you take towards clearer, more confident speech is a victory.
Absolutely. And never underestimate the power of your voice.
The world is listening,